Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina and this is Lifting Pins and Needles, a channel all about sewing. I'm coming to you from autumn in Brazil, and believe it or not, it is freezing and it's raining, hence a cardigan. That's a rare sight, I know it's a rare sight, but I'm actually a bit freezing, and when I show you what I've made, I'm gonna be cold, but I'm doing it all for you. Okay, so what I want to show you today is the Kauai top by Itch to Stitch. It's a new pattern release and I've been busy testing away over the last couple of weeks. I have two versions to show you. This is a flowy design with a relaxed fit, meant to be made with lightweight wovens, and the features are that it has a front bib. From the center of that bib comes a little button placket that is totally functional and closes with tiny button loops. There is a center front pleat that goes attached to the bib and completes the front piece. And then to finish the neckline, it's with bias binding, and then you have two options. One is to be totally sleeveless, which is view A, and that's the one I chose. No surprise there. And then view B uses the same arm side, but has a really cute little gathered detail on the top there. The fabrics I chose for my two versions are crepe, and the other one is a printed silk, and they are beautiful flowy fabrics. This design is really sensitive to fabric choice, so I would steer away from anything that's stiff. It needs to be nice and lightweight, you know, nice lightweight flowy drapey fabric. The sizing comes from 00 to 20 US with bust measurements of 30 and an 1/8 inch to 45 inches, and then hips of 33 and a 1/4 inch to 48 inches. And because it's a relaxed flowy sort of design, there is 3 inches of positive ease around the bust and about 6 to 7 around the hips. I am a size 12 C cup, and my hips would be a 14 actually, but given the ease around the hips, I just sewed a straight size 12 and everything is fine. Before we hop into up close and so personal, I want to point out a little something I did just to avoid problem called a flower on the apex. AKA flower boobs. I'd chosen a crepe with nice pink flowers. I'm actually wearing it right now, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna get a pink flower right on the apex. So usually you've seen me when I draft in previous videos, I always draw my bust circle on my pattern. Well, for the last couple of weeks, I've actually been cutting out the circle on the pattern so that when I place it on fabric, I don't get the placement wrong. And I'm gonna put a picture here of my initial placement. The flower was right there. I have minimal fabric all the time, so I had to be very creative to get a placement where I had like a leaf or whatever. Anyway, this pattern I would rate intermediate just because of the little tricky, not tricky, but you just need a little bit of dedication to complete the front bib with the button placket and the button loops. And that's what I've mainly focused on for the up close and so personal segment. So let's hop into that.
Don't you think this is start to wear?
There are 4 bib pieces. So the pattern piece, you cut it in 2 pairs, but then you choose one of them and you interface. So I have an interfaced one, a non-interfaced, non-interfaced, and an interfaced. So in the instructions it says A, B, C, and D. So basically A and B are the ones that are going to be on your left side, and they are going to have this little button shield sandwiched in between. So you just fold this in half like that, and then you're going to sandwich it in between these two. So you're going to have these right sides together, both bibs A and B, with this button shield folded in half, just sandwiched in between. I managed to pin them together. It's very slippery, so I have my interfaced bib there and my non-interfaced one, and in between there is the button shield that was folded in half. So when I open it, you're gonna have that there. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew that. Once I've sewn it, the interface side is the one that's gonna be seen, so to the outer bit of you, and this is the internal bit. So on the outer bit, I'm gonna go ahead and do an edge stitch there all the way down to hold that in place. This is the one that will go on the left side of me, on my left part of my body, and you can see I've done that edge stitch there. So it's nice and neat. This is the internal bit, it's the same fabric. What I have to do is do a stitch here to catch these together and also stay stitch, and around here all the way to the bottom there. This is a pattern piece for the button loops and it's cut on the bias, and I've carefully pinned it there. The right side is in there, and now I have to do a straight stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which is pretty hard, let me tell you, because this is going to be very narrow. So that's pretty much it. Sewing this was very painful, was very slippery. I have trimmed the seam allowance in half so it's to reduce the bulk. And now I'm going to turn this around with a safety pin. Let's see how it goes. Yay! So I'm supposed to cut this into 5, and I even have a little guide there to cut them. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip them. So bibs A and B have already been done. There's the button shield there. It's just like one piece. Everything's being basted there to hold it together. And now I have bibs C and D, and these are the ones that go on the right side of your body, and these are the ones that have the little button loops. So on the interface bib, on the right side, there, you're gonna put your little loops. So look at these little loops. There's a guide on the pattern and dots where you have to place your loops. Once I've placed them, I'm gonna baste them in place, and then I'm gonna bring this other one on top and then sew that together, flip it. I've marked with chalk there where each of these loops go. So you take one of these and fold them like that, sort of flatten them out there, and then you put them there where your mark is, and put them there for now. After pinning them on, I'm gonna baste them on by hand. Got my button loops there pinned. So for every single one, I put a pin there, and now I'm gonna hand baste that together. I've hand basted these on in a continuous stitch, so maybe you can see the green thread. I basted there and I reinforced the middles there because I really want them to stay together. And then I just have a few stitches there to catch that one, and there's another reinforcement there, so you know this stays together. I did baste them at sort of 3/8 in. The seam allowance is 1/2 inch, so it'll be like a few millimeters in there, but I think they're pretty secure. They're not going to move around, wiggle. So I'm going to take my non-interfaced bib, put it on top there, and now I have to sew that with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. But I am going to hand baste this because there's this little volume under there, and if I just put pins, this might shift around, so I'm going to hand baste it first. So it's all hand basted there, all nice and safe, and I'm going to sew this with the interface side up. Okay, so there's my seam. I'm going to remove these basting stitches. They don't need to be there anymore. And then when I flip, look at these little loops, they're so cute. So I need to actually press this really well, or hand baste. I'm actually going to hand baste it better. And then I have to do an edge stitch right there. So there's a little basting stitch there in dark green. It's still further than what I'm going to do with my edge foot. So then I can just pop it out. So I'm gonna really carefully do this. So I've done my edge stitch there, and I'm gonna just pull this basting out there. So that's how it looks, super neat. And I have already attached the both pieces together there on the neckline and around. So I've completed my 2 bib pieces. You can see the little loops there, and that little shield goes on the back of the loops. So then you meet these there in the middle. So I'm going to baste these together right there so they don't separate, and then you baste by machine as well there. And now this is what is going to go attached to the front. There is a notch there on the other side in there that I need to match to the front. And then this curve is going to be a little bit tricky, and there's some clipping going on, but I'm just going to take my time. This is the front, and in the center there's an inverted box pleat. So there is a mark there, and I have basted that so it's easier to form the pleat. So I'm going to open this now, and I have my little pleat there. So then I just have to open this, and my pleat is there. This pleat is not sewn, it's going to be caught into the bib piece there. So I'm just going to pop a few pins there, and I need to baste that so it won't move anywhere. Here is the centerpiece. There is that little pleat that I've just basted there, and then I've done a little like a stay stitch there from notch to notch. That's just to remind me where I have to match up the bib. And then all around this curve I have snipped. See, that's just going to make turning the curve easier. So here is my completed bib. I have basted the bottom there to keep it in place, and now I have to put these right sides together. This curve has to go around and match this. So I'm going to use pins initially right at the edge within the seam allowance, and then I'm going to baste it before I sew it. I managed to baste it, and this is how it's going to look once I've sewn it. So you can see that little shape there. This is how it looks on the wrong side, so it's the same fabric as on the outside, but this inner bib is not interfaced, you know. So the middle there had to match the pleat on the other side. You can see my basting stitches there. I basted it around at 3/8. My seam allowance will be 1/2 inch, so I won't like sew over the basting stitches. But now, yeah, I'm just going to sew that and serge it. And then my front is complete. Then I can just attach on the shoulder seams to the back, and then just carry on constructing. There's bias binding for the neckline and for the arm side. Look, this here. See that little piece there has to match the middle of the inverted box pleat right there. So I was really careful to baste that really accurate there. I'm working on the binding, and it's very fiddly, especially with my fabric choice. Here's the left side of the bib, the button shield, and there you had to leave a little bit of dangling binding that you fold under like that. I sewed the binding on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then there was a guiding stitch to help you get the perfect seam allowance to tuck under there. So I have pinned all that around. When you get to this side, this is where the little button loops are. From the extra bit here, you're supposed to stitch like up to there, like 1 inch before this. You have to tuck this underneath this bit there somehow, and that will make up the button loop that's on the top. So there's 5 there, and plus the top one will be 6. Okay, so I have on my first version, and now this is the second one. I'm going to show you the features on because it's easier to see. On black it's just harder to see. The front bib, as it's called, that piece there with the little button placket and the little button loops. And then you can see it's finished with bias binding around the neckline. The bias binding on that side is what creates the top button loop that is tucked into there, and that's what I tried to show you on the video. But that's how it is. It's the same as all the other button loops actually. It looks exactly the same, see? And that closes the top button right there nicely. The center front pleat is an inverted box pleat that meets right there at the middle of the placket as well, as you can see. And then it just flows really nicely with a curved hem. This is the other side. You can see where that little button shield is on the wrong side. And that this internal bib, the one that wasn't interfaced, is the same fabric. I've cleaned up all the seams, you know, serged around. Everything's nice and clean there. So that is how it looks on the back. There's no darts or anything at the back. It's meant to be nice and flowy. I like the curved hem there. The coverage around the arm side is very good. There's a detail there with the bias binding and the button loops. If you can see it up close, the bib. So you can see that there's no flowers actually on the apex. The flowers are somewhere else, you know. That's something I wanted to avoid. Okay, here is my bright green one. I super love this. Look how flowy it is. The fit is the same size as the other one, 12 with the C cup. I guess you can see the hem better because I have black pants on there. The fit at the back is just nice and relaxed and loose. You can see the fit around the neckline, arm side. Super nice and comfy. You can see the ease around the bust, but there's no gaping anywhere. There's nothing like fitting odd, you know. And yeah, this was a lot of work, but it's so delicate and so feminine. I just really like this feature of the top, super regional as well. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I hope you give making tiny button loops a go. They're usually in different types of designs, and so far I have steered away from them because I thought it was really hard. But actually, just a little bit of dedication, a little safety pin is all you need if you don't have the fancy tools. I don't have them. I want to have them, but you know, if I ever see them, you know, I'll buy them. But for now, a safety pin works. I really like the design. I find it super feminine, super cute, and I've been toying with the idea of making another one just lengthened into a dress like I usually do. Probably chiffon to wear with a slip under, and just, you know, bring in the waist with a little belt, and it would be like a really cool dress to wear. This pattern is 20% off for the first week of its release. As always, my affiliate link is down below in the description box. And if you like it and you purchase through that link at no cost to you, I receive a small commission. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye.
But baby, I'm here and I'm watching you move. There's just one thing you should know. Girl, you are my fire, all makes you desire. Swear I'm not a liar, you dance with me. All makes you desire. Swear I'm not a liar, you should dance.